Welcome to Real Turkey channel once again. As you see, I have my masks ready. There are so far no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Turkey. Even if there were, we would probably won't realize it because, as you know, Turks are descendants of wolves and were naturally immune to all human diseases. For instance, mad cow has been prevalent in Turkey, but you can't tell whether the average citizen has mad cow or just psychotic. Anyhow, going back to the subject, I want to talk about why Turkey would never reach Industry 4 standards under this administration. I wanted to bring that up simply because our finance minister, our central bank head, and other dignitaries were in Davos, and they claimed that the world investment community, both in the financial sense and the economic sense, such as multinational companies, were very interested in Turkey and were looking for opportunities to invest in Turkey. I hope and pray that this is true, because we desperately need technology infusion and FDI, foreign direct investment. In 2009, FDI declined once again, and even compared to Vietnam, we get like 1/5 of the FDI. And without FDI, you can't adopt the new technology. And given the fact that Turkey has a savings deficit, that is, we don't save enough to reach the kind of investment GDP ratios like 35%, which has elevated Asia to the rest of the third world, we cannot really get anywhere. Why am I being so pessimistic about Turkey reaching Industry 4? First of all, the counter evidence is that this government is seriously committed to create a high-tech, value-added innovation society. Unfortunately, its intent and its policies work in opposite directions, and it doesn't get any help from the private sector. There are several problems, but these videos are limited mostly to 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to start with the education system. Turkish education system is from the 14th century. But to be realistic, it is based on rote memorization and teaching the kid to solve multiple choice questions so she or he can pass the next stage SAT type of centralized examinations. As a result, dropout ratios are increasing, and Turkey has massive shortages in critical skills. It's difficult to adopt Industry 4 if the average blue-collar worker doesn't speak a foreign language and has very little expertise with the concepts of artificial intelligence, Internet of Objects, or software coding, or robots, which unfortunately is the case in Turkey. We have excellent engineers, excellent doctors. We have several people working for NASA, American Space Agency. Wherever you go in the world, you would find a Turk who is at the top of her profession. Unfortunately, they don't live in Turkey. The educational system in Turkey has, not only by AKP, but previous administrations as well, used as a tool to indoctrinate the young generation to become good voters for that particular party. That has never changed. And obviously, it has not been able to convey the necessary skills to the students. The situation gets worse in the universities. We have over 100 universities now, which accept 1.5 to 2 million students, but most of them are understaffed. And because academic freedoms are severely restricted, freedom of expression simply doesn't exist. Universities are deficient in terms of creating the basic research upon which young entrepreneurs can form ideas or can take this research and convert it into commercial applications. That's one problem. Secondly, the private sector doesn't want to invest. I've just shot a video. It's somewhere around here. If you check the general vicinity, you will find it. Turkey's real investment to GDP ratio is very low. I don't want to give numbers, but it's much lower than Asia. And it's mostly in terms of lands and structures rather than new machinery. One of the reasons for that is because the business community doesn't trust this government. Arbitrary confiscation or biased courts under the sway of the government are common, not only in Turkey but in other third world countries. Therefore, if you're going to invest a couple of $100 million in a project that would only produce returns in 5 to 10 years, you want to make sure that in terms of a conflict with the government or tax authority, you have an independent judiciary that protects your rights or that can make fair decisions, which unfortunately is not the perception. Secondly, I think every nation does that, but Turks have a habit of using too much debt and too little equity. A lot of Turkish wealth is kept abroad and then recycled back to Turkey in terms of foreign bank loans, which have higher protection vis-a-vis Turkish equity. As a result, Turkey has so much debt and can't borrow anymore. There is simply not the cash flow to invest. A recent survey by TÜSİAD, Turkey's big business association, found that the Turkish industry is on average at the level of industry 2, and it would be very difficult to jump to 3 and 4 simply because 90% of the companies are extremely small and they don't benefit from the investments that would elevate them to industry number 4. The third problem is that we do not have an innovation culture. It is difficult to define the reasons that create an innovation culture, but when you look at Turkey, you see it's not there. For instance, we don't educate enough software engineers. Those who are really good at their jobs immediately migrate abroad because they get good job offers. We don't teach good foreign language skills. Usually it is the case, not always. For instance, China is different in this case. Usually it is the case that democracy, freedom of expression, and innovation culture goes together because most of the innovators tend to be free spirits and they don't like suppressive environments. Most importantly, even though our government pours billions of dollars into incentives, subsidies, etc., to the corporate sector, it doesn't understand how the new innovation or the new industry system works. For instance, let's talk from my case. I need flexible working hours. I need workers who also work flexible working hours. I can't afford their social security payments or other perks that I need to provide to them by law, simply because I have zero capital and these costs are extremely onerous to me. It is these kind of things that the government doesn't understand. Or for instance, there are not enough kindergartens or preschool facilities for working mothers to entrust their children so they can join the workforce or be married, have children, and pursue a career. Work from home is not encouraged. None of this is really speculation. If you look at Turkey's rank in the Innovation Index, I think it is published by The Economist or Bloomberg. I'm really sorry. We have lingered or languished at the rank of 40 to 45th. But if you take out the top 10, no one invents anything. So Turkey just doesn't invent anything. Recently, INSEAD, the prestigious French college, published its 2019 workforce competitive statistics. I think Turkey ranked 78th, receding 4 ranks in 1 year. Our labor force is not competitive. Industrial classes are simply not investing to change the workplace into Industry 4, and the government doesn't provide enough incentives. Most importantly, there is brain drain. Anyone who can sell his or her talents abroad tries to leave Turkey. These are the sad truths of Turkey, but unfortunately, unless the mentality changes and there comes an administration which understands what it takes to create a high-tech, highly innovative society, Turkey will linger around as a producer of low value-added goods like cars, textiles, petrochemicals, etc. I hope the future promises better things for Turkey. This is Real Turkey channel. Give us a like, subscribe, and recommend it to your friends. Atilla Yeşilada out.